Queers, what's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today, we are continuing our discussion of the web series These Thems, and we will cover episode 4 through episode 7 to conclude everything.
Yes, and Cole is back once again, joining us to finish this series.
Very exciting.
Before we begin, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you rate and review the episode wherever you can. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment below, and like this video. We want to hear what your thoughts are about this show, about this episode. Just let us know what you want us to cover in the future as well. If you want our full reaction video to this series, it is on our Patreon. You can get the full-length hour and 20-minute series, full reaction, as well as all of our other content, early exclusive content. Just come join our Chaos crew over on Patreon, and it'll be a gay of a time. Dive into discussions in our Discord channel. Come talk to us. We want to hear about all your thoughts on queer media. It is a great time over there. We also have book clubs that you can participate in and just be part of our queer community. Follow us on all social media platforms. I swear we're on all of them at this point. At Big Gay Energy Pod. And also check out our website, biggayenergypod.com, for more information about the podcast, merch, and where you can find us in general if you forget any of the things that we just mentioned above. Also, all links are in the description. So come on, hang out with us. Also, if you could share this with at least one friend of yours, it will help us spread our queer joy and help us grow and create more content for you. So that would be fun. All right.
Help us. Thanks.
Yes, we need help.
We need help.
It's a group effort. That is what being queer is.
It takes a village to be gay.
Yeah.
I will say most of maybe this show included, a lot of the shows that I've been watching, it's more like to get the queers to date. It's like it takes a village because all the friends have to meddle to get them there. So yeah, it takes a village to get the queer media outlets out there. So just help us out. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with episode 4. Vero is officially the straight whisperer.
Woo!
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
They are hosting their test.
Because they're testing out their whispering skills with a bunch of queers,
yes.
which
yes,
go on now.
It's kind of like not fully like, but like someone in another TV show, like I'm starting a straight alliance, but the straights are already aligned. Like the queers are already queer, so yeah, exactly. It doesn't not fully a good test audience. But anyway, they're doing this test at Asher's boss's house. You know, the one where like Asher was supposed to take care of the cat Pickles. But also because that is definitely going to go well at
Absolutely.
Asher's boss's house. Just saying. So Asher tells Vero not to invite too many people. But like when you're queer, how much is too much? You know? But of course it turns into a party anyway.
That one thing I really liked about, or thought it was funny, was at one point during the start of the party, one of the guests pulls out a little jar, like a little thing, and Asher is immediately like, no glitter, like that does not go away, like you can't get that out of anything. And the party guest just is like, it's cocaine, like normal, like it's a normal thing. And Asher is not wrong though. Glitter does not come out of stuff, and the boss is definitely gonna know there's a party.
I think the glitter does end up in the bathroom, and he does call him out later. He's like, why was there glitter in my bathroom? So this was inevitable, the glitter. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you pull actual glitter out. If there's glitter anywhere near you, it is staying till eternity.
It is like the herpes of craft supplies.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
I did not invent that joke. I don't know where
I'm pretty sure I've heard it before, but it's just hilarious.
It is.
Anyway, eventually Asher gives up and just gives in to the partiness and invites Kevin to the party. But more on that one later. Let's keep it light first. So Gretchen made it home with T.I. So she's hanging out with them, and she picked T.I. up at the lesbian bar in the last episode. She tries to kiss them and then almost sneezes. She is still a baby gay and needs to take things slow. However, my brain's like, she's more like a micro preemie gay in the NICU.
Yeah. Yeah, she needs life support.
There's a lot. So she goes to the bathroom and tries to tell herself that it is okay to be gay. But then she's like, is it okay? And now the thing is, we found out in an earlier episode, she was sent to baby gay conversion camp. So it's drilled into her that this is not okay. So she's basically having to unlearn this thing that she was taught from a very early age within days. Because not much time has passed since Vero has come into Gretchen's life and this whole gyno experience. So her godex visits her, as well as a very high Kevin, who is a higher power, and they basically represent good and evil, or
gay and gayer is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I wouldn't say good and evil. It's just like more of
gay and gayer,
two different spectrums. It's just two different points of view. Let's go with that. So Gretchen decides to take High Kevin's advice and goes for it. Okay, so back at the party, Asher asks Vero for advice about the new account for Babetown at his company. So, like, Asher, you can tell, he wants this account. Like, this is him. Like, this is, like, I can combine two huge things in my life, my work and then who I am. And I can bring this point of view that no one else in this company could. We do not get confirmation about what they actually do. Just like Gap the series. Anyway, so Vero thinks that he came out at work, but Asher tells them that he didn't, and he thought he might just tell them that he's gay instead of trans, but he's not. But also, maybe bi? We don't know. Asher's still figuring himself out as well. It is a journey no matter how many times you come out. Things change. You change. People change. And that's okay.
Yeah, you can be 30 and change. It's fine.
Yes, you can pick a label, even if, you can pick a label. That label can change. Anyway. I was going somewhere else with it, but I couldn't remember if you couldn't tell. Anyway, Asher then tells Vero that he does have a crush on Kevin and asks if this means if he's bi. Maybe. Only time will tell, Asher. So Vero is trying to give Asher the confidence to come out as trans at work, but Asher doesn't want to be the only trans guy at work, especially because he's already the only brown guy. And I think that this is very fair. You don't want to be like the only person, like, because then all the attention's on you. They know, like, oh, you're different, air quotes.
Well, it's like having one minority is one thing, but once you start adding minorities on top of it, you become like pigeonholed into this like very specific group, or in this case, single person.
Yeah, and then also people have finally started treating him like a regular dude, and like that's all he wants. He wants to be accepted as a man, and he has that at work, and he doesn't want that to change. And he's worried that now if he tells people he's trans, they'll be like, oh, so you're a woman. And I mean, that has to be like the worst thing ever for trans people. And I hate that is an experience that they go through. But I was curious How do you feel about Vero pressuring Asher to come out at his office? Because that is what Vero is doing.
Yes and no. So my answer for this is I feel like if this was a real life situation and not these characters, I would say Asher should make his own choice and Vera should not be pressuring him. So I do agree with that. But for the show, I think that, and possibly some friendship, like if you really know somebody, you can kind of know like who they are as a person and kind of know like, I don't know. I think Vero kind of knows the limits of how much they can push Asher to kind of make this decision, and it seems like he's at the point where he wants to make a choice and makes a decision, and Vero is just kind of like, well, you should do it. Just do the thing. Like you can do this. Like everyone's here to support you. Like what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, and Asher's kind of like, yeah, you're right. Like you're kind of like, I see where you're coming from. This is kind of like, I do want this. I want this enough that I'm going to risk the potential negative consequences that might happen or could happen. And I think that Asher is more on the conservative side and very, very much wants to think through all of his decisions that he makes, any kind of decision that he makes. Whereas Vero is very much like, whatever happens, kind of happens, and we'll just kind of go with the flow and figure this out. So I think they kind of balance each other out in a friendship, and Vero kind of pushes Asher to kind of make the choices and the decisions that Asher wants to actually make. And then on the other hand, I think Asher kind of talks some sense into Vero and like kind of brings Vero down from making just outlandish decisions. So
yeah, I agree that it's not okay to pressure somebody to come out. So where Vero is coming from and Vero's rationale for doing this is basically like visibility. Visibility is important, which is true. Visibility is important because visibility leads to normalization. However, if the person you're trying to get to be visible is telling you, I don't want this, I'm not ready for this, that is not okay. And it is within Asher's rights to be like, I'm finally comfortable at work. I don't want to be uncomfortable again, is basically what he's saying. And that's totally valid. Like, and to guilt trip Asher and be like, but by being in the closet, you're not representing trans people at work or out in the world. Like, that's not okay to really do that, truly. And like, I understand they have a friendship dynamic and stuff like that, but I think that pressuring Asher to come out is not okay. Like, saying to Asher, when you're ready, like, this would be great. That's a different way to frame it and like put it on Asher's terms when Asher feels comfortable, but to like guilt trip Asher into doing it, I think is fucked up. And I understand right reasons, has a point about visibility, but that's a lot to put on one person, you know, who may not be ready for it.
I also have the same opinion. I thought this was very odd. I mean, I guess it does happen, but Vero pressuring Asher, it's not helping Asher, I feel like. I think if Vero really wanted to help Asher come out at work, they should have more worked through it with them. Like, okay, well, what's your worst fear? How can we handle that fear if that comes true? Trying to get away for Asher to feel comfortable for feeling like he's needs to come out, because that's basically what Vero is kind of telling him. And it's not great when someone's telling you, oh, this is what you need to do, this is what you should be doing. But if you're not ready to actually tell people, because you don't know how someone's going to react, and at the end of the day, it's not Vero who's going to be impacted, it's Asher. So Asher needs to be the one who's ready to tell everybody.
Especially at work, because if it goes poorly from your boss and then you get fired mysteriously, like, you know, like, I don't know. Like, I understand why Asher's, like, afraid, like, hesitant about it, to be honest.
It's okay if Asher doesn't want to come out. Like, he doesn't have to.
It's okay.
Like, if he wants to tell people that he's just bi, like, that's fine. because that is a way for him. Like, he feels safer doing that and then that also gives him the credibility to get the account. That's fine, but he shouldn't feel like he needs to come out as trans because all of this is personal. All they need to know is that he's Asher.
Yep.
Anyway, during this whole thing, Vero has everybody chanting, "Come out." And Kevin shows up to the party and is looking for Gretchen because she hasn't responded to him since she is too busy with T.I., but he doesn't know that she's getting it on. So when the people are still chanting, "Come out" at Asher, Kevin assumes that it's a coming out party for him. Which, I mean, I guess is fair. Like, you enter a party and everyone's just shouting, "Come out, come out." What? That's a really weird way to enter a party. But anyway. So, Kevin tells Asher that in the theater world, everyone assumes you're gay, so the only people who have to come out are the straight ones. And I think that's just so funny. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, that's kind of true, though. Because, like, especially for men in theater, everyone assumes they're gay. To the point where, like, I feel bad for the straight ones. I mean, like, it's the other way around, too. But, because it's just, like, they're... Okay, so it's to the point where people become more... I don't know what the right word... They're, like, more defensive about that because people are assuming. Anyway, it's that one's not as important, so let's just continue. So Asher does get a bit of courage from this whole come out thing and responds, "And the trans ones?" And then Kevin's response is, "Well, I don't know any of those ones, so..." Because, like, of course, it's Kevin doesn't really think before he speaks in general, I feel like. And then he realizes what Asher is trying to tell him. And he completely messes up his reaction. Like, reactions matter. Even if you're caught off guard, just take a minute to figure out how to respond. But Kevin doesn't. And he starts saying all the wrong things. He is being transphobic and biphobic at the same time. Just like, let's work in all of the things. And, like, this was Asher's step into coming out. He's like, well, if I can do this to the person who I've been connecting with, maybe coming out at work wouldn't be a bad thing. And then it just goes terribly. So, like, the scene hurts so much in general. Like, no matter how you identify, it is terrifying not knowing how someone is going to react to you telling them that. And I just wish that wasn't our world.
And to your point, and to your question earlier, like, is it okay that Vero is, like, pressuring Asher to come out? It's like, this is the validation of, like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't come out at work. What if this was the response I got to strangers who don't really know me at all? Like, you know, work self and work yourself outside of work are usually different people. So this is just valid. This is just reaffirming to Asher, like, yeah, I did the right thing by not coming out at work. Because, like, this is a bad reaction from somebody they're close to, like you said. And I will say this conversation, while it's hard to watch, it is a really important one to have because it just goes to show that, like, intolerance and ignorance does exist in queer spaces, like within the queer community. And just because you're a member of the alphabet mafia, it doesn't mean you're an expert in every facet of queerness, which I think is a really important point that this show shows in multiple ways. But to, like, in defense of Kevin a little bit, like, I will say that, like, having a sexual attraction / preference is totally valid because he goes on this journey later. It's like, well, I don't know if I'm attracted to that idea. And it's like, that's fine. I think, like, that's your person. Again, sexuality is a personal thing. Like, if you have boundaries for, like, what you are attracted to or who you want to have sex with or whatever, that's perfectly fine. Like, it's your body, your life kind of thing, you know. But the way he executed this entire conversation was was in poor form, like you were saying, Kaitlynn, because to me it almost sounds like it's coming from a place of like internalized transphobia, like, or in just genuine panic, which from the way he's depicted on screen, he seems like they wrote him as like kind of a caricature of like the gay man, basically like the twink gay man, because he's like, I've slept with every man in like New York, basically, and like establishing he doesn't have relationships, he has hookups, which is like a stereotype of gay men. And then he's like, I only know other gay men. I don't hang out with lesbians. I don't know anyone who's trans. So like he's like put himself in a box basically, and his experience with the queer community seems very myopic, like very small. And so this is a queer person getting into the, you know, the big expanse of queerness, and he's learning how to navigate that for the first time. And he just seems like afraid, like he doesn't know how to navigate this at all and just fumbles fucking everything, basically. So in a way, this is another character we're having who's also going through an identity crisis because he's like, oh crap, I'm attracted. Because I think he's also coming to the fact with, oh, I thought I was like gay, and then I'm attracted to like a trans person, like who may not be like, you know, it's having this thing like, oh God, like what does that say about me? Like now I don't know who I am. And he's like throwing that back at Asher versus like dealing with it and processing it, because that's how cis men traditionally deal with their feelings. They put it on other people instead of processing it. So it's interesting the way the show kind of plays this thing out. The only person who's not having an identity crisis is Vero. Everybody else is having an identity crisis in adulthood in their own way, which is really fascinating. And it's all tethered to queerness, which was a clever thing to put in a show, honestly. And they all process their journeys very differently, which is fascinating.
That is very interesting that Vero is, but you know, Vero is
going through an identity crisis, but in a job sense.
Yeah, the job.
That's a crisis. I think that but that was part of Vero's personality the whole time, where they're like doing this, and then somebody's like, you should do this thing you do professionally. I feel like that was Vero was already kind of in there. I was like, huh, and then like it's less of a crisis, more like Vero's like, oh, let me take this thing I'm good at and go do it professionally, versus everybody else is like, who the fuck am I? And they're having an actual crisis. Vero's going in a different job direction.
That's why Vero is more level-headed this entire time.
They're not freaking out about, they know who they are. Like, they're the only one who securely knows who they are and is okay with it. Everybody else is learning new things about themselves and is freaking the fuck out and, like, going on a journey.
Speaking of figuring themselves out, though, we are now into episode 5, and we begin the episode with Gretchen figuring herself out. And she's riding a bike while singing, I'll never suck a dick again. And it's perfect. And I really feel like this is something that would happen in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yes.
Because I finally watched that after Theora kept bringing it up. And now I can't unsee it. And, like, I'm just thinking about it. And, you know, Tyson would be just, like, next to her riding the bike, be like, yes!
Oh my god, no. Tyson would lemonade this song. Favorite line from that show is when, I forget it is give it to me straight. Ew. I'll give it to you straight. Ew. My favorite line.
That's a really good show.
Which goes with this.
Anyway, so Gretchen is super happy about getting laid, while Kevin is sulking in the bathtub.
Which is so weird that he, like, fell asleep fully clothed in the bathtub and he wasn't drunk. Like, this was just weird.
I don't get Kevin.
I don't get this.
Just in general, but, like,
sure.
All right.
Well, he had to do the thing with the shower curtain where he, like, drapes it across his body and, like, does weird things with the shower curtain.
He fidgets with it, basically.
Yeah, but it's super fun. It's funny.
But he has to pull it together, though, because they're going to their friend from college, Katie's gender identity brunch thing. That is how it is described. So, Kevin is basically still being a huge dick about everything. And when Gretchen tells him that she invited Vero and his boyfriend to the party as well, Kevin responds with, not a boyfriend if it's not a boy. Like, come on, dude. But seriously, though, how can you be... I don't understand this in general. How can you be in the queer community and not be inclusive about everybody? I've had so many conversations or just like interactions with my mom's friends who are in the community who are so transphobic. It's ridiculous. I'm like, just because you figured out who you are, or like even like the labels and pronouns, just because you find out who you are doesn't mean that someone else doesn't deserve to figure out who they are. And just like we didn't stop with being straight, there are other things to learn about and figure out. So just because you found yours does not mean it doesn't go further. And I just don't understand, and it makes me so angry.
Yeah, I think what you said is absolutely valid. In the context of this show, though, I think what Kevin is doing, it's more about him than it is about Asher. I think he's just projecting his identity crisis onto Asher, and it's coming out as anger. Like, personally, I think that's what actually the root of all this is. But you were right. There are some people who are just so set in their ways, even as members of the community, because he goes on a journey of learning. So like right now he's just hurt and confused, and it's just like throwing out anger is basically what's happening. But you're right. Some people are just like, no, I don't know. People are ridiculous. Get the fuck over yourself. We're on a rock floating through space. Your life is like a speck of dust in the great vastness of the universe. Like, get over yourself. You're not that important. Like, just live your life. This is all you have. Just be happy. Shut up.
Well said, Theora.
Nice. Go party with everybody.
Okay, but then Kevin then outs Asher to Gretchen. And he's like, did you know that Asher was trans? And she's like, no, but does it even matter? Because it doesn't matter. And so Gretchen asks him if it makes a difference. He says, what's not cool is they, them's men with vaginas. And it's, I mean, I know it's something about him, but oh shit. It's just narrow-mindedness, and Gretchen's response is perfect and just shows how much she has grown from hanging around with Vero in just this short amount of time. And she says, probably more complicated for the person who actually transitioned. And yes, girl, you are learning, and so quickly. But Kevin's like, it'll make me less gay if he dates a trans man. And it's just so annoying. I need to stop. Okay, so the friend group then heads to the gender. Oh my god. So the friend group then heads to the gender identity brunch thing.
And I love that it's just a room filled with white women with basic names that mostly start with S. And then Asher and Vero have a sidebar, and Asher's like, how do I tell all these people apart? And I just love this moment because it's such a like reverse of what usually happens, where it's white people being like, I can't tell these people apart that aren't white. And it's just like, yeah, we all look the fucking same. So like, let's get over ourselves. I love this comment.
I do love that. And I want to point out that it's not just S, it's names. Sharon, Shelley. I forget the rest.
It doesn't matter.
All right. But when we're getting into the part, like we didn't even make it there yet, Kevin is being super weird around Asher. Because of course he is. He can't just act normal. So when they get to the party, they realize Gretchen has made a huge mistake. It's not a gender identity party. It's a gender reveal party. Not to be confused with a revenge party.
And that is hateful, because that song finally stopped playing in my head. And now I keep playing it.
It's a revenge party. I mean, yeah. That is also gay in itself. I'm just saying. Anyway, they try to leave, but Katie tells them to stay. So now they are stuck at a gender reveal party for someone they don't know.
Do you like all the like gay regalia that's on them? It's just like pins and the shirt, and like it's just they're decked out for this like gender identity party.
Yeah, Vera, they come in saying, "We're here, we're queer."
Oh,
Anyway, Anyway, so Vero. Oh, never mind. We already said all this. Okay, never mind. Okay, so my question is, how does Katie fit in with this group if everyone else is?
They said, wasn't it? So Kevin and Gretchen went to college
No,
together.
I meant with the white women, with all the names, and then you get Katie.
Yeah,
and I just find that funny. Anyway, so once Vero says their pronouns are they them, Katie tells everyone that she is a they, which I'm assuming that's. Luckily, I haven't come across. I also don't have to deal with they them pronouns, so like I don't have people misgendering me. But like, this is just a common thing that people just cannot understand they them pronouns? Like,
Well, I mean, that way it's said, not so much. What does tend to happen, that I've experienced anyway, is they ask your pronouns and then immediately use she or he pronoun. Like if it's they, and they immediately will use like she pronouns immediately after that. And I'm like, did we not just have this conversation? Like, what are you, like, okay. But then it's like, at that point, it's like, I don't know if it's worth it to continue be like, no, because my thing is like, pick one, stick with it. If you change it halfway through the conversation, do the thing, but like, don't be like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Just ignore and move on. Like, it's just not worth, to me personally, it's not worth the like apologies, and like that makes it more awkward. Like, I have people that I work with, this is slightly off topic, but I have people I work with at the dog training school that she uses all three pronouns in a conversation. Sometimes I'm like, who are you talking about? But it's me, because it's just like one sentence has one pronoun, the next sentence has the next pronoun, and like just goes through all of them, and I'm like, that's a whirlwind. But I'm not going to correct you because you're using different pronouns for one. So it's very interesting because I get confused sometimes when that happens. But I'm just like, who are you talking to?
that sounds so annoying.
I think the biggest thing though is people are, it's the grammar that confuses a lot of people. I think that's the big thing. It's just like a plural. What you're told is a plural pronoun, and people have a hard time with that, which I do understand that, because when you're first learning English, at least in America, they're like, here are the singular ones, here's the plural. So like, I do understand that that is hard. If you put that word in that box, this means multiple, it is hard to unlearn that when you've been using that type of language for so long, or have at least categorized it as like, that means multiple people. To like, if like people were like, use you as the pronoun for me, like people would find that really confusing, because they're like, that's not how I've been using that speech consciously. And so I can see that being a sticking point and hard to unlearn, you know what I mean? Versus just like straight up misgendering people and being like, no, I'm going to call you this, even though you said, like, slipping up in language and being like, sorry, like, just my brain is hardwired this one way. It's hard to unlearn those things,
Yeah. I've definitely misgendered by accident someone that I went to dance with, and I felt terrible. And now I feel terrible because I made a big deal out of it, and I was like, damn it, I messed up twice. But it still haunts me to this day. Can you tell?
It's one of those things though, like when the person is coming at it in the right, like, they want to do the right thing and it just comes out wrong. That's one thing. Like, for me personally, if it's messed up, just move on. And you can talk to me after the fact. You could be like, oh, look, I'm so sorry, but like, not in the conversation with a bunch of other people. Like, that's where I get like, don't make it about you kind of thing in this in this specific moment. You can come to me after, or like step aside and like be like, oh hey, I'm so sorry about that, I'll try and be better, or whatever it is. But in the moment, it's super, for me, I don't like attention, so for me it makes me very uncomfortable. Other people might be a little bit different, where they might be like, oh no, make the change right then and there. I don't like that. It just adds a lot more questions that make me uncomfortable.
That's fair.
For me personally.
Yeah. But Vero does get excited when they realize that this would be a great place to practice being the straight whisperer. And boy, is this the perfect test. This is a better test than the party they threw.
Yes.
Just saying. So they go help the women build the baby bassinet. And I'm very confused by this in general, because I feel like this isn't a typical gender reveal party activity.
No.
Like, who builds whatever? They're like, we have all these women, we need help building this thing, because none of them are lesbians, so they can't build it. That's the issue. So they need the queers to help. And Vero assumes that everyone is a lady, and then says that they shouldn't assume, and asks if everyone goes by she, her pronouns. But like, I think it's safe to assume in this group. But you never should assume. That's the whole point. But again, Vero calls themselves out for assuming. So one of the ladies misgenders Vero, because this is a...
like, deliberately.
Yes.
That's the difference.
And when they point out that they are wearing their pronouns on a pin, she pretends someone needs her on the other side of the room and leaves. No audible, like, oh, I'll come help you. No, just like, and then leaves. So, very helpful.
So then comes the little scene of like, oh, how hard is it to how it's so hard to use they as a singular pronoun. And Vero gets an idea and tosses their keys towards one of the white girls talking, and just on cue says, oh, the girl just on cue says, oh, someone dropped their keys, and perfectly timed Vero comes in and is like, oh, did they now? And all the white girls are like, oh, okay. So I thought it was a very fun and like clever teaching moment, where they kind of Vero kind of used the situation to throw in, without being like overbearing about like how you need to use they them pronouns and stuff. And it's just like a more natural throwing into a conversation, like, you do this regularly, like this is what you do anyway. So I like that.
Yeah, they weren't being preachy. They were just like, see, you can do this.
Yeah.
Congrats.
And then, but it's like the thing that clicks with them. And you know that they're going to remember that. So it's also just a victory for Vero as the straight whisperer teacher as well, because I mean, I love when like I'm teaching someone and like you see that aha moment. It's like the best feeling for you as well.
Agreed.
Okay, so unfortunately we don't get to stay with queer education. We have to go to Kevin, who is mocking Asher flirting with one of the women while hanging out with Gretchen in the kitchen. So Gretchen calls out Kevin for being jealous, yes, but he says he loves this vodka and they were made for each other. And then Gretchen has the best comeback to that and says, though vodka was born a potato. And I just, it's so stupid and funny at the same time. She's not wrong. I don't think that's a full equivalent, but you know, okay. Kevin then just walks away and then ruins Asher's chance with the women, because of course he does. Like, if you don't want to be with him, let him move on. But meanwhile, Gretchen is telling Sharon all about her great sex the night before, because Gretchen will tell this to anybody who is willing to listen or not willing to listen. She will just scream it.
She's out and proud. She's here and queer and she's happy about it. But to your point about Kevin, like the problem is that Kevin does want to date Asher. That is the problem. But Kevin is having trouble coming to terms with that because that is not aligned with who Kevin sees himself as. Like, this is all about Kevin, and he's just throwing it out at other people. Like, he's throwing a tantrum in a way. So at the baby gender reveal, they get into the reveal part, and they find out it's a boy. And the queers are like, we don't understand why we're doing this. And basically, I think Gretchen says the baby is going to have a penis. That is all we know. And I thought this moment was really, really important because it shows the struggle, like this whole scene, it shows the struggle of ditching tradition as progress is happening. And it demonstrates how ingrained gender is. They're assigning the gender before the baby is even born, like before birth even happens. And which we understand gender is social construct, all that kind of stuff, but like the word gender has been tethered to biological sex, that kind of stuff for such a long period of time. Like unraveling those two things is hard to do. It takes time. People have to unlearn things, right? But at the same time, the mother brings up a point that I think is very real to a lot of people where she says, I want to be a good ally. I do, but can I just be happy about my baby boy? And like, there's a collective groan from the queers because like Vera's trying to be the straight in this Vera straight whispering situation. But like, I think this is a real moment for a lot of people because people are like, I want to be happy about this. I'm having a boy. Like, why can't I just enjoy this? But I think it also like, which is valid, but also like it shows like people refuse to budge when it's something, when it finally affects them personally, which is also a real thing that happens where it's like, oh, I never like, that's cool for you, but like, this is me in my life. Like, I want to keep this, you know, but the mom ends up embracing it and dubbing her offspring as baby, which is really sweet. But also like, how do people navigate that? Like, I know the sex of the baby. Are they not allowed to be happy about that? Like, I think the mother's feelings are valid. She can be happy about like her, you know, her baby's going to be a biological male or whatever. Like that's exciting. But like, again, like the term, this is why like language is tricky. It's like the terminology where what we're saying is like, oh, but you don't know the gender until the baby is born and tells you what they feel comfortable with. But it's like, how do people navigate that? That's a genuine question because
yeah, I see both sides here, but like there's a big part of me that's just like I do feel bad because most of the like 3 of these people that Gretchen brought with her, she doesn't know them and they're making her feel bad about being excited that
right.
Her baby has XY chromosomes, basically.
Right, exactly. So like
they don't understand the difference between sex and gender right now.
correct.
Which they will, but like it is a party and it might not be like the right place to have this conversation. Like just I don't know. I know both like it's important not to assign the gender. That's why a lot of people do have like sex reveal parties and they like consciously make it a choice, like a thing to say the sex of the baby instead of gender. But I think it's okay to be happy and excited as well. And I'm a little upset that they took that away from the mother.
I agree. I think that is a consequence of this, you know, the other side of it. But yeah, it's a reframing of thinking, like what you're saying. I think gender reveal parties are weird, and I don't know why people do it for babies. I think it's fucking weird. But especially when burning down California.
I think it's more weird when they have a baby shower as well. Like if it's not one thing, then no, you're just trying to get more stuff.
Yeah, well, the baby shower is the traditional way when you weren't able to figure out the sex of the baby early on. Now we have both things, and they're like, I'm keeping both parties. I agree, it's weird. Stop it.
Like it should really be all in one. Because really, why are we having a whole party just around the
I agree.
The sex
the mystery of life or whatever.
Like it's fine to have like a part of it, maybe? Like, okay. But like the entire thing, it's like
I don't get it.
It's just a baby shower that I don't
get it. I don't get it.
I also don't understand like the multiple parties for a wedding, but that's a whole nother conversation. That brings us to the end of episode 5. I do agree. Like, baby is really cute. I do. Well, hold on. I'm sorry. Before we finish, the husband calls. The husband doesn't get to be there for some reason. So it is a baby
Usually
shower
it's just
as well.
Usually it's just the women, traditionally, if it was a baby shower.
Yeah, the baby shower would just be women, which also weird that that's still whatever. It seems like men don't really want to be there anyway, so good for
Agreed.
them. But she tells the husband they're having a gender neutral baby, and it's just the husband just doesn't know what's going on, so he's like, "What?" You don't get his reaction or a conversation, but I just can't imagine what the hell he's thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but on to episode 6. We begin with another song from Gretchen on a bike. And she's singing, "I can see queerly now." I don't know if it's the same words. That's all I focused on was the queerly now. But she is no longer afraid of being gay. But she does show up at T.I.'s apartment and finds out they already have someone over. And her little lesbian heart is crushed. But girl, I feel like you didn't have the dating conversation. Like, I feel like if you sleep with someone right away, there's like an expectation that you're just casual. But I don't know, that's just me. I don't have any experience, so that's my assumption. So after this whole thing, she finds out that her long night of sex with T.I. is actually pretty average. So she's not as special as she thought she was. So she leaves with a bagel on her bike, but there's no singing this time. Instead, she sobs while eating a salt bagel. And that just sounds so gross, but it's basically a pretzel, I feel like. Right?
I mean, no, it's a bagel with salt on it, but
Wait, are you actually talking, or were you just mouthing words?
Oh, sorry, I said it was big pieces of kosher salt, like the thick salt. Yeah,
I hate salt, so it doesn't sound great.
she bought the bagel.
She bought the bagels.
She bought the bagel. She
probably.
Bagel.
I think she just like give me a half a dozen bagels. Also, why is she bringing that many bagels to T.I.'s house?
She's moving in. She's trying to U-Haul. That's the point.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, stop the U-Haul, return that shit. We're not dating. That's basically this scene.
It's a very stereotypical scene that happened.
Right, exactly.
I thought the scene was so funny and so well filmed, and it's so good. The show is done so well for such a short show. Like it was edited really well. It was like produced really well. Like everything was just so nice. So nice.
It was. So then Kevin is trying to expand his knowledge. Like, he is actively trying to be okay with dating Asher. Because he really does want to, and we do see this. So he's trying to expand his knowledge with the book. So you want to date someone trans. And he's like, I don't know, to the book. So he's having a full-blown conversation with this book. And the book says, this is how to date a trans man. 1, meet a trans man. 2, ask him on a date. 3, that's it. It's that simple. But I feel like Kevin's someone you need to just have multiple explanations for. Like, here's this whole roundabout way to just be like, it's okay. So yeah, that goes on for a little while. He's on his journey with that book. I do want to know what the rest of that book says, because it's pretty thick, and what if it's just those 3 things over and over in each page? Oh, great use of money. So then we head back to Asher, and he is at work and trying to work up the confidence to come out. Asher tells his boss that he wants to apply for the Babetown account. And even though he doesn't have as much experience as Chad, which is relevant because that means Chad would be most likely to be picked because he is more experienced than him. He has experience with the community though. And after His boss doesn't fully understand what he's trying to say. Asher tells him that he is trans and asks him not to tell anyone, which his boss doesn't understand what he means when he says trans, so he has to say transgender. And I do wonder what he thought he meant by trans. Anyway, so his boss says that he doesn't care what any of his friends do with their junk until Asher, you do you. So, like, he's uncomfortable at the same time. I get the feeling that he's just doesn't want to say something wrong. Like, he's fully okay with Asher, but he's just worried about not thinking before he speaks, Kevin. And yeah, it's like not because he's uncomfortable with Asher being trans, because I think the conversation would have gone differently if he actually was. I don't know if
Well, I
you
mean,
guys.
wasn't he the same person who was like, they're talking about people and he's like, Leslie, whoops, don't go to HR. Like, so I don't know. I can't read him well.
I mean,
like maybe he, oh fuck, in this moment, and then like goes and processes it off screen. It's hard to say because we already had that slip off of don't tell HR from this person. So I don't know.
I just got the feeling that he knew he messed up then and then like maybe he's closer with Asher in general. So like from this, like he worked on it. I don't know. I'm giving this guy a lot of credit.
He does let Asher watch his cat, so like yeah, there's validity to that.
Okay. But Gretchen is still very upset. Still full of tears. Looks like a wreck. This poor girl's going through it. Her first little baby heartbreak. Baby gay heartbreak. So Gretchen meets up with Vero, who's putting up another Straight Whisperer poster. Vero, I know you've made a few videos, but like, I feel like flyers aren't gonna do it. I think we need to do some like more social media promotion, but you know what, you do you. Anyway, they are at a burlesque pop-up, which Gretchen doesn't know. I don't know if Gretchen was supposed to be there or not, but she's there. So Gretchen is crying as they shimmy, because that is what they were told to do. So Vero finally asks what happened, because Vero's like, why are you crying? And Gretchen is trying to explain what happened through tears. And it's basically like one or two words at a time. But Vero like perfectly understands, like, oh, you're having the classic lesbian heartbreak because you thought you were more serious than you were.
I thought this was so funny. And it's through like loud sobs, not like trying to be quietly like crying. It's like loud sobs. It reminds me of Alice from the L Word, when she, in like the original L Word, when she starts sobbing during, I think it was yoga, with Helena and over Dana. And it was just loud, ridiculous sobbing.
I'm sorry, did we not all loud, ridiculous sobbing when that happened? Because that was bullshit. That's all I remember.
Not during the devastating thing that happened with Dana.
Okay. This is their breakup.
Just the breakup. Yeah, when she's like on all the drugs. And
also
like,
devastating. Why were they broken up?
That's a great question.
That is the time to ugly cry. This is just ugly crying, yes.
But it's what it reminds me of. It was like a very like a copy and paste scene.
Yeah. I've only watched the show once, so I don't remember this scene, but
I can tell you the entire scene, but it'll take a couple minutes, so we don't have to do that now.
I feel like I need to go back and watch that one day. Yeah, it was the first thing I watched.
But it is.
When I came out, though, and I feel like that was not something I should have watched as the first thing.
It's classic, though.
It's my first thing that I watched.
That was the first thing I watched. We should cover it on the podcast one day if we're running out of stuff.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, running out of stuff. Like yeah, that happened. No, Adam Sandler taught me about that show, so thank you.
It's really random, Kaitlynn.
I'll tell you more later. Anyway, so then the class is doing a call and response, and then Gretchen just completely disturbs the class. So I think the first one's like, "I am loved." And Gretchen goes, "I'm in love." I don't remember the rest, but it just ends up like, nobody understands me or something like that. So Vera just takes Gretchen to a corner and tries to comfort her because she is disturbing everybody. And Vero tells her she is in the kid in a candy store phase and she can explore. So it's a good thing that this didn't work out. Also, Vero knew right away that this was never going to be a relationship, but they forgot to tell Gretchen that, and that really would have helped Gretchen beforehand. But Vero tells Gretchen to listen to her vagina. And then basically Gretchen takes that and runs. This makes Gretchen really excited. And she gets on stage to perform an elaborate musical number. And I do appreciate the addition of musical theater in this series.
Oh my God.
It's great.
I love so much the drastic change of reality and fantasy, like they did at the beginning of the series as well. But like honestly, Gretchen is quite deranged at this. Like she went from like full on sobbing to like a delirious song and dance kind of thing that's going on. So she's just screaming, "Listen to your pussy, listen to the pussy," as she runs off stage, and then it turns back into reality, and the audience, or like everybody that was at this pop-up, was just kind of like, what on earth is happening? Like, this person just got up on stage, started randomly yelling at everybody, sobbing, like makeup, I'm pretty sure, was just like down her face and just so distraught, but like singing at the top of her lungs and yelling. Just,
I want to know if she sang that well or if she was like a dead cat in real life.
It was a mess. That was a mess. There's no way. That was a mess. That's why everyone looks disturbed when you go back to reality. That was not good. Like, Vico's like, what the hell just happened? Or Vero, sorry. What the hell just happened?
I wonder if Gretchen in real life just was not able to pretend to be a bad singer. So they just were like, all right, we'll just go full into the fantasy sequence.
Or they're like, we don't have time for this. Or maybe it's in the bloopers.
Come on. Almost said Vero. Vico, Gretchen, someone give it to us. Okay. So after this, Gretchen is still very high off of her performance. That was fully amazing. And Gretchen tells Vero that now she knows that she needs to go through a very slutty phase. Boy, is she ready. So Vero tells Gretchen. So Gretchen asks basically, so what's going on with you and the straight whisperer? Vero says that they think they have to go back to dog walking because nothing is happening with the straight whisperer, and they got bills. They gotta pay. That's why I wrote it in caps. To remind myself. But the thing is, I don't understand why they can't do both.
That's what I don't understand and have never understood, why they had to quit being a dog walker to pursue this. Like, you could do both, pretty sure. But, okay. Maybe Vero's one of those people who, when they commit, it's 100 or 0. Like, there is no middle ground. So maybe that's their character flaw that they have to, like, work on, the way everyone else is working on their character flaws. But, okay, so anyway, so Vero's like, I think I gotta quit this dream of mine. So Gretchen asks Vero, what do you want to do, really? And Vero says, build community and get paid for it. And truly, this is such a pure motive for doing anything. And it is super fitting for somebody like Vero, who's just a ray of sunshine, basically. And after Vero says this, one of the queers that was at the party shows up and asks Vero when their next party is because, quote, there aren't enough safe queer spaces. Which is an excellent point in general that the show is trying to make. Because here they are at this pop-up queer event, and all the queers came to it. And they're like, we need more places like this, truly. And a safe space really is more about the people than the actual location. Hence why they can just pop up anywhere with this burlesque thing, and everybody's like, yay, let's be ourselves. So I love that that's what triggers the light bulb for Vero, because Vero seems like more of a people person anyway, and not tethered to like not physical things, but like material things. So I like that point is made in the context of Vero, specifically the character.
Yeah, and hearing this, Gretchen's like, it's obvious what you should do, and tells Vero to forget about the straights and tells them that they need to throw a bigger queer party. I took Theora's point, sorry.
No, you forgot to add that. I added it for you.
Thank you. So Vero then starts flirting with Gretchen. So I guess Gretchen's learned enough now that they're interested.
I know it's like, hey, enter your slutty phase with me. I'm like, wait, what? What just happened? I thought that you were just like, hey, don't be emotionally like attached. Just fuck everybody.
Yeah, I don't totally understand.
I'm like, wait, what do you want, Vero?
I don't
Suddenly
know.
you're hot. I don't get it. Anyway.
But Gretchen's definitely into it. But then someone else walks by and she's like a dog and squirrel and gets distracted. And then her vagina speaks. Literally. And that is the end of the very eventful episode 6. We are now on to the very last episode. And it's exciting and sad at the same time because we definitely need more.
Agreed.
So, episode 7 opens up with Gretchen definitely experimenting, while Kevin is still pining over Asher. So, Kevin's like still on this book. He's still reading this book of the same page over and over. We'll get there, Kevin. So, Kevin tells Gretchen that he misses Asher, and she's like, just go get him then. Like, he's still there. But she says to rom-com it up to get him back. Because that is what Asher likes. He loves rom-coms.
Later in grand gestures, too.
Yes, that is grand gestures. That is a big thing. And that I feel like that's a common trope in media. Like, one of the people like grand gestures and the other one's like, don't do anything. And then, yeah, that whole thing. Anyway, later in the week, Gretchen is trying to get it on with another femme. And this is hilarious.
Oh my god, this is really funny. Again, stereotypes. They play within the stereotypes a lot in the show.
Yeah, and she brings up Vero. And she's like, Vero didn't teach me about femme and femme. And
apparently incompatible, apparently.
Yes. And then the girl that Gretchen is with is like, oh, you know Vero? I love Vero. And then Gretchen starts going on and on about how amazing Vero is. And the woman just looks at her and she's like, oh, you sweet, sweet baby gay. You have it so bad for Vero. And Gretchen's like, no, we're definitely friend zone. Girl, you were literally just flirting with each other earlier. Anyway. Head on over to Asher. Chad gets the account for Babetown because he has more experience. Of course. And after getting this news, Asher sends an email blast out to his company telling them he's trans because he's like, okay, this is bullshit. I know Chad has more experience, but I have more experience in this aspect. If this is why I did not get it, like if me not being trans is the reason why I didn't get this account, screw it. I'm going to tell everybody because this is who I am. And now this way he doesn't have to hide a part of him. I mean, not that he's like hiding it, but he doesn't have to worry if something like this comes up. Like he asked to be considered for any account that deals with the LGBTQ community, which he should, because I think that's a pretty relevant view to have when working with an account like this.
So this felt like another part of the L Word. So there's a scene where Max comes out to like family and friends, I think it is. And it's an email blast as well, basically to all the people that he's trying to come out with. And it's so this felt very much like, because Asher was trying to like figure out the perfect way of saying it and like all this stuff. And there's like this whole scene of Jenny and Max like going over this and trying to come up with the perfect ending phrase. And then Jenny at one point is like, this is how it should be. And then it's basically like Max, formerly known as Moira. And then Max is like, perfect. It's just, I've seen that show too many times. But yeah, so it just
I can tell.
reminded me. It holds too much space in my brain. But anyway, it was just another. It just was almost like a scene for scene. Felt like a scene for scene for that thing. It was very funny.
Yeah. Okay, I don't remember the scene. I do remember the storyline a little bit, but not that specific one. So thank you for the
comparison.
Thank you. Losing the words and Theora's got me. Thank you, Thea.
That's what I'm here for.
Okay, so the next day, I'm hoping it's the next day. I can't fully tell. I think it is, though. Asher shows up to work, and there's a bunch of cards and flowers on his desk, and he is so supported by his coworkers, including Chad. I didn't even notice that it was a card from Chad until you pointed it out in the reaction video, Theora. And it's just super cute to know that everyone was welcoming and excited. Well, at least the people who put cards and flowers on his desk. And those, to know that there is even support in the company is very great.
And then it just cuts to Gretchen icing her crotch with peas
because
of all the sex she's having. And then it goes... What?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's so funny. And then it just cuts back right over to Chad and Asher.
Yeah, because Gretchen is just too busy. I just kind of summed that up because Gretchen and Kevin in the first half of it was just basically the same thing for half the episode. Sorry. So Chad comes to visit Asher at his cubicle and tells him that it took a lot of balls to come out and that the account should have gone to him in the first place. I'm sorry, I have dog issues. Sit. So Chad actually hands the account over to Asher and says that he will talk to Ryan about getting the next one. I hope his name was Ryan. I don't fully remember his name, so So Chad then asks if he could ask Asher a question and confides in him that he thinks that his nephew might be trans. And Asher just gives him back his phone and says, "It'll be okay." And I want to see more of that, and I would love to see Asher and Paul. So Chad's nephew's name is Paul, and I would love to see Asher and Paul hang out in season 2, and Asher basically become their mentor, like how Vero is with Gretchen, and maybe that'll be a way for like him and Chad to bond as well.
That'd be cute.
I don't know what Chad needs to do, but he needs to do something about his hair because I don't know. Next season. That's just my note for him. So while all this is happening, sorry, it's getting late for me. So Vero is preparing for an epic queer party. They already have 300 yeses and a date with maybe Maya. I love how that is the contact name in their phone. Like, question mark? I don't know. I don't remember. But they have a date, so.
I mean, iPhones now do that. If they can, if somebody put their name in, it just says maybe and then the name, like, so you can save it as that name. But it looks like that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, no,
so I don't know.
No, they definitely saved it like that.
No, yeah, I know. They saved it like that. It just looks. Never mind. It just looks like what the iPhone thing does, where it pops up. Like if they said, "Hi, this is blah blah blah," and it'll pop up as maybe blah blah blah.
Yeah, the iPhone does that automatically. Like it'll say that as their name. It might be this person, basically, if they've communicated with you. Like your phone does that automatically.
Yeah, so that's just what it looked like.
I use an Android.
Yeah.
It does not do that.
Yeah, no, iPhones do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it could be that Vero, again, they're just either establishing that Vero has an iPhone, or they're establishing, which I didn't check, or they're establishing that Vero is one of those people who meets a bunch of people, doesn't really catch names, and like doesn't form relationships normally. They also could be establishing that, hence the I'm not dating you if you're a baby gay situation. So I'm not sure. We need another season.
That's basically the end of story for this. Okay.
So then while that, like, this then cuts to Gretchen in her room trying on a strap-on. I don't remember what she's doing, but
nobody knows. There's no explanation for this. There's
No,
no
there
dialogue.
really isn't.
There's nothing. There's just this scene, and
she's just feeling.
She's just
so
she's just exploring her sexuality. That's all
Yeah.
she's doing, and having
she's
fun
having
with
a
it.
great time. But it's
That's it.
very funny. It must have been very funny to film, to like not be laughing at yourself, because she's kind of like proud about it, isn't she? If I remember correctly.
She's just having
And
a good time.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's funny. So funny. That's it.
The next day, everything goes down on Saturday. So Gretchen looks like a gay disco ball, and Vero is rocking a stash. A white stash. That's a choice.
That's what they're feeling that day. Who knows?
So Gretchen tells Vero that she isn't confused anymore, but then maybe Maya interrupts and Gretchen walks away. Like, they're so close. They're so close to getting together, but maybe Maya keeps coming back.
Okay, but also Vero had a date, so you can't just be making out with other people when you have a date with someone. That's fucked up.
There's no rules, because Vero said that Vero friend-zoned Gretchen, and then all of a sudden wanted to be with Gretchen.
Correct. Without talking to Gretchen, that part is weird.
Anyway, Asher then shows up with a dildo. It confidently puts it on the bar and excitedly tells Vero that he got the Babe Town account. Woo! Suck it, Chad. I mean, Chad gave it to him, but like, he still won. Anyway. So Asher is so excited about this that he offers to pay for drinks for everyone who comes out tonight. And then has to clarify for the first time, because when you're a queer, you are always coming out.
Agreed.
It is a constant thing. Fun times. Then Kevin shows up and immediately heads to the stage. Like, no time to waste. Beeline for the stage. And he does a big performance to win Asher back. Much to Theora and Zoe's dismay, it was not a Love Actually thing. It was a musical theater thing. But still a grand gesture.
I don't like Love Actually. Me and Joey both said that movie is overrated. Like, it's cute, but overrated. So I was fine with this. This was better. Because he said he's a theater person, so like it made sense for this to be his grand gesture.
But it doesn't fully win him back. They agree to take things slow, but he still gets a kiss out of it, so victory.
Winning.
Afterwards, a bunch of people come out on stage, and it's a super queer supportive moment.
Well, actually, doesn't Kevin interrupt all the coming out to like give his like... So like people were coming up on the stage doing their coming out, saying whatever they identify as, and I'm pretty sure he interrupts this to like do the grand gesture, because one person's up there and they're like, what the hell's happening? And then they just continue the coming out stuff.
Yeah.
And so Asher is racking up quite a bar bill because so many people are coming out on this stage, which is unfortunate for his wallet. But good for them.
But he just got the Babe Town account, so
yeah. He can pay for it.
So then I like this, one of the ending pieces, and we finally get the title of the show spoken between Gretchen and Vero, which for some reason I always find amusing, and it always catches me off, and it's always like, like a little fun, like, there's the title. I don't know why.
The title.
Yeah, so Vero's like, look at all these, and then Gretchen says thems, and then you get the title, and it's, I don't know, it makes me like happy.
Oh man, then you'd love Killing Eve if you've never seen that show.
I have seen it.
You haven't? Oh, because they do it with the episode title. Like They do call the title every time.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Just go
I don't
back.
think I ever looked at. Yeah, I might have to.
I've seen people say that they don't like that because it takes you out of the story when they're like directly saying a title.
When they're doing it in a cheeky way to be like, ha, yeah, it's annoying. But like in Killing Eve, that's not what they're doing. It is like usually this big moment that's happening and you're like, oh, it's satisfying.
Mm. I meant more like the these thems thing.
Like this call to title?
Yeah.
It felt more like cheeky where they're like, hey, that's the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't mind it personally.
I liked it. It always makes me like,
because it's a joke I get. I get what they're doing.
That's why I like it too. I'm like, oh, hello.
It requires no thinking on my part. Anyway, Gretchen is talking to Vero, and she tells them that they are her Queero, and that's so cute. And then starts flirting with Vero. Like, the two of these people, like, they and probably would have ended up together until maybe Maya interrupts once again. But then when they dance later, Vero, I think it's Vero, reels Gretchen in, or is it the other way around? Vero and Gretchen.
Either way, those two are involved.
One of them, yeah. So they dance together, and maybe Maya goes out the window again. So season 2.
Exactly. They're just setting up season 2.
We have so much more that we need to see, so hopefully this goes somewhere. But that is it, unless anyone else has something to say about these thems.
No. I think we can wrap this up with the Big Gay Energy Award. So if you're new here, welcome. This is an award we give, and it's a part of a super gay rating system we've developed with Queer Science here at the Big Gay Energy Podcast. Basically what we do is we give this award to a person, an event, something that happened in this show that emanated big gay energy and everything that means. So in These Them's the web series, what would you guys give the Big Gay Energy Award to?
Okay, so I gave it to Vero explaining queer stuff to the gyno. And I'm just, after everyone's answers, I'll say something.
Mine is to Gretchen's dramatic acting at the gyno.
Now I'm going to give it to the gyno.
I'll say, apparently we stopped at the first episode. Like, the first, it's just so great, and like it exudes so much big gay energy that it makes you just binge watch the entire thing.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a gateway scene, if you will.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's it for These Thems. But if you've made it this far, we want to know. So I'm going to give you a secret word. I want you to spell in either a review or a comment, however you're consuming this podcast. So without looking it up, use this word. I just said that. Never mind. Forget it. It's getting late, okay? Forgive me. So the word is sanctimoniously. So good luck figuring out how to put that word. I don't even know the definition of that. I just know that it goes with the word in the first episode. And kudos to all the people who can figure out why those two words are together.
All right, so you have a homework assignment from Kaitlynn. So thank you all for joining us. After this, we will be getting back to Our Flag Means Death and starting up season 2, another show that stars Vico. So come along the journey with that with us. Also, if you're a big fan of Vico, check out the interview we did with them. It was lovely. They're a wonderful human. And until next time, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And gay it up all over the place.
Bye.
Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.